All right, now, so what I'm going to hand you out is the last assignment. Portfolio, Bootstrap, and or Portfolio, HTML, CSS, JS. And there's a front, and there's a back. They're basically the same page, except the front has a few more instructions. And it says, for this last assignment, you've got your choice. You can either take your original portfolio and bootstrap it, or if you say, well, that's too much work and I hate Bootstrap, whatever. Okay? Otherwise, I just want you to modify what you have. If you've already bootstrapped your portfolio, I want it as at least 3 different pages. I don't want it as one big page. Well, I don't like that. I don't care if you don't like that. That's just what I've decided to do. All right? So, if you decide you want to go the route where you're going to bootstrap it, I put some links in here. For instance, this one right here. This is from startbootstrap.com/template category/portfolios. And you'll notice if you look in here, they've got a bunch of different templates. There's about 10 or so. And this isn't the only one, but this is an example. So if you had this as an example, when you look at these pictures, this picture, for example, could be your C#. This picture right here could be your HTML, your JavaScript, your CSS, your Bootstrap, etc. All right, if you wanted to do that. So of course, you would change it. You wouldn't be using these pictures, but you get the idea. So you can use that as a starting point if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, you can go out to Google or go out to YouTube and find a video series. I watched this one. It's not bad. It's got 9 parts in it where this guy literally builds a portfolio website using Bootstrap from scratch. He's got a pleasant enough voice. He definitely knows what he's doing, a lot more than I do.
Head over to html5boilerplate.com.
His name is something Simmons, I don't remember what. But it's not bad. So there's 9 lessons, and I think one of them is 20 minutes long. Most of them are 5 to 10 minutes long. Okay, so you probably could watch the whole thing in about an hour if you want to do that. All right. You can go out to here. If you don't want to do that, he's got actually a series you can buy. This is free because it's on YouTube, but he's got his own series for $9 where he goes into it in more depth and breadth of coverage. I don't expect you to pay for anything, but if you want to, you could do that. You can also go out to a site like bootstrapzero.com/templates. And they've got some templates out here. All right, so there's a lot of different ways that you can do this if you want to go that route and bootstrap it. Now, what I'm going to mention now, this is the same regardless of whether you bootstrap or you use what you have. At a minimum, I want 3 pages. The home page. Notice what it says, because this is part of your grade. It should have a simple headshot of you. All right? I'm not going to bring up anybody's, but I remember Brady's on his. Near the top of his page, he's got a little picture. It's about this big, and it's a headshot. That's all I want. I don't want any chronicle of your life. I don't want a picture of you in action, so to speak. Nothing like that. All right? And anything else on the page that you deem appropriate for a home page. It should be professional. Part of your grade on this is how professional it is. All right? All right, second, you should have an About Me page. All right, the home page should be index.html. The About page should be about.html. There you can link to your resume. You can have your resume in Word format. You can have it in PDF format. You can have it in both. You can have it, some of you use other formats, Google Docs or whatever. You can do that. And you should also link there to your work samples. Like I said, the C# executables, your HTML and CSS assignments, your JavaScript assignments, your Bootstrap assignments. If you don't want to put it in the About page, you can link to another page from there, however you want to do it. The About page, many of you, when you turn me in your copies of your resume, and you can link to that on your About page too. I probably didn't even put that on there, but I should have. All right, yeah, I did say it. You can link to your resume. But many of you on your resume, you had a skills section. where, for instance, you might have listed in there HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, jQuery, etc. You can put that on your About page. It's your chance to put something in there where you're doing a little sell job on yourself, so to speak. All right? And again, at a minimum, if you're going to go the 3-page route, you should also have a contact page. Now, many of you, when you did your contact page last time, you didn't have any kind of form in there really whatsoever. You had your name, and you had a phone number, and you had your email address or something like that. I don't want that. That's not a contact page. All right, and I put a couple things in here. For instance, if you're going to go do it through Bootstrap, there's a thing called bootsnip.com. These are all examples of contact pages. All right, so you can use one of those. You can pick out one that you like and use that. You can also, as you know, you can go out to getbootstrap.com. Don't need the caps. So you can go out to getbootstrap.com, and I don't remember which one of these it is. I'll try components. And of course I'm wrong. Was it under CSS? I don't remember. Forms. So if you look here, they've got some examples of different kinds of forms. All right? You can use that as a starting point if you want to do that. So you should ask, I don't expect you to have 500 fields on there. But if you've got somewhere between or somewhere in the area of 10 fields, you ask a person their first name, their last name, their address, their email, whatever. You think address is too personal, then come up with something else. All right, that's up to you. All right, there's a website out here called Bootstrap IOUS, and it's how to build a working Bootstrap contact form. You can use that. And you'll notice that as far as your points, 30 pages for the index page, or 30 points rather for the index page, 30 points for the about, 30 points for the contact. That's 90 or 60% of your grade. All right? 15 points for setting it up in ranking. What I want is you, regardless of whether you bootstrap it or you don't bootstrap it, I want you to have a folder that's called Portfolio. Under that folder, you should have, if you're going to have a JavaScript folder, you have JS in there. If you're going to have CSS, you're going to have CSS folder in there, etc. And you'll have all of your HTML files. What I want is for a prospective employer to be able to go iwt.rankin.edu/alhassan/portfolio. And boom, what comes up? A means portfolio. Does that make sense? That's what I want. That's worth 15 points. And if you notice, the final 45 points, it'll be based on the professional, actually I should have said professionalism, of each site and how well the directions on the page have been followed. Does that make sense? All right. If you decide you don't want to go that route, it's pretty much the same thing. Again, you'll again make a portfolio, a thing called portfolio, a folder. You'll have all of your subfolders and files in there. You will again have a home page, an about page, and a contact page. All right. Now it's going to be a little different. And I don't mean to single them out, but it's going to be a little different for you, Colin. All right. What you may want to do is you may want to go out there and just take a look at some of the Bootstrap stuff. You actually might find that easier to work with. All right. You've got 3 days this week, 5 days next week, and 3 days the following week. You do the math, that's over 40 hours. So if you have finished the third worksheet, you have 40 hours to dedicate to this. All right. I told Charles what I was doing. He thinks I'm nuts. I'm giving you way too much time to work on it. But again, I'm grading it based on, part of it is based on the professionalism of it. I expect it to look professional. Now, that said, I expect it to look professional, but if you go out and you type in, and again, if you need some place to start, you can go in and you can Google electronic portfolio. examples. And there are sites out there that will just, literally will give you things. Now, there's Auburn University. So this is somebody who maybe has been studying for 4 years for some of this. All right, and we'll just grab here, Maggie Culling, veterinary medicine. Do I expect it to look like this? All right, no, I expect it to look like yours. But what I'm saying is if you're struggling or looking for examples, you can go out here. And there are literally thousands of sites that you can use as examples. I don't want you to, I would sure feel bad if somebody turned theirs in and it looked like this. So let's say it looked like this, except that was a means picture there. That would be a little bit suspect, all right? But you know what I'm asking for, all right? At least hopefully by now you know what I'm asking for. So again, it's going to be the same thing as far as the homepage. This is exactly the same as what I said before. The About Me page and the contact page. And again, if you decide to go this route, I found this online. It's a little longer article, but it's from tootsplus.com. And well, it was in there. I don't know what happened to it. But there was a thing in there on how to build a contact form. And if for some reason, that appears to have, in the 2 days, has become a dead link. So how to build an HTML5 contact form. All right. And you see there are a bunch of different sites. That was the one, I think. Build an e-powered form. All right. So there's one right there. And when I say HTML5, it should be professional. If a person puts in a non-email address into the email field, you should give them an error message. All right. If you say all fields are required, except maybe like a comments field, and they leave any field in there and they leave any field not filled in, they should get a message. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions on what I'm looking for on this? Again, I'm going to be surprised if most people's reach the level of professionalism of the one that I just showed you. I'm not saying you can't do it, but again, I don't have any idea with some of these people how much time they put into, like this one right here that I mentioned. The more professional it looks, the better the chance when somebody looks at it, they're going to want to interview you. All right? We're going to keep working on this, so come fall, at this time in fall, when we're a week or two away from finishing the semester, now I'm going to say, now go back and add your ASP.NET projects. Then in spring, I'm going to say, go back now and add your links to your Java programs. And by that time, believe it or not, you'll have created an app. All right? And you can link to that. I don't know of a better way for you to get hired. And I will tell you, I've been doing a lot of reading on this in the last few days. Some of the stuff you read, you got to take with a grain of salt because you don't know. People spout statistics, and to me, sometimes when people spout statistics, it's like Trump spouting statistics. All right. Some of the stuff he says, yeah, that makes sense. Other stuff he says, I think he pulled it right out of his butt. All right. So the thing is, some of the stuff that's in here, some of the stuff that I've been reading, people say that literally today, for every 100 resumes that get sent for a job for a company, 96% are rejected just like that. Literally. So that's 96 out of 100. And they're looking for any reason. You got to look at it this way, that if you've got a job opening, one opening, and you have 100 people apply, you don't have the time to interview 100 people. So rather than looking for people to hire, you're looking for people to reject. All right? But my hope is that if somebody sees this and they click on it, they go, oh, Ethan Wilson, that looks pretty good. Let's start looking through it. Because a lot of people still are not doing this. Many people today, even for these types of jobs, are still sending in resumes, and that's it. So you've got a leg up. You tell them you can read my resume, so you send them a cover letter. Maybe that's electronic. You can say you can read my resume, however, you might want to do this and go to my electronic portfolio page. One more thing, and then I'm finished. All right, and that is, and I'm not trying to sell this place on you at all, so I'm just giving you an example of a place here. There's a place called, of course I spelled it wrong, HostGator.com. It's really stupid. Their thing, for whatever reason, is an alligator. But as an example, you can get your own domain and your own website for $4 a month. Now, should you do that? All right. There are free ones out there too, literally free ones. There's a couple of other ones I didn't bookmark, but there's another one that's not free, but it's $2 a month. So if you said you wanted to go this route, that's $50 a year. So if there is no Ethan, what's your middle initial? D. If there is no EthanDWilson.com, he could see and he could grab that domain and then put his stuff out there. The advantage of doing that, if you haven't already figured this out, is occasionally, and quite occasionally, they take the rank and server out of commission. And what I'd hate to see happen is for you to be trumpeting that, and somebody puts in iwt.rankin.edu/bwilliams/portfolio when it comes up that it's unavailable. Because it looks like it's your fault. It's not your fault, but it looks like it's your fault. They're thinking, well, this person, must work for Rankin, and for why don't they, etc. So it's something you may want to think of doing. And it doesn't have to be Ethan D. Wilson. It can be whatever he wants. But it should, if you're going to get your own domain name, it should be professional. All right? Again, I've seen this, hotchicks.com. I wouldn't do that if I was trying to get a job. Hotdudes.com. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't put anything about your personal, your political, your religious beliefs. I wouldn't have anything like that in a name. Okay? I looked this morning as an example because I'm actually going back and redoing the lectures for fall for the AWD1100 class. I went back and redone all of the PowerPoint lectures. When I did the PowerPoint lectures for you last semester, I put them in there. It was the earlier version of the book. It wasn't this version, the one that we used last semester. It was an earlier version. So I went back and I've done the first 13 out of 14 in there. But the point is, what I did today was I went out and I said http://www.jeffreypaulscott.com. And I looked, and it came back and it said it can't be reached. Normally, that means that domain is available. I'm not saying for sure it is, but normally that's what it means. All right? Now, you got to watch it, because when you start putting that stuff out there are people that look online and they get records of this, and they do what's called cyber squat. So they'll buy that domain. Then when you want it, it'll say it's already been taken, and that person will contact you if they can get a hold of you, and they will say, hey, Colin, I know you want Colin, is it Fugner? ColinFugner.com. I've got it, and for $100, I'll sell it to you. Don't think that doesn't happen. There are people who make their living that way. All right? Back, before 2008, Obama was smart enough to grab BarackObama.com. If he didn't, it probably would have been worth some money. And again, I thought this was funny. It's probably changed, but for a while at least, when you went out to JebBush.com, he let his domain name expire. And guess who bought it? Donald Trump. So when you went out to JebBush.com, it pushed you to DonaldJTrump.com, which I found pretty funny. And because it was during the election, it got a little bit of play. I don't know, maybe I did something wrong in here, but you get the idea. All right? So, here's the handout. Take a look at it. If you have any questions, you can ask now, you can ask later, but hopefully you know what you are supposed to be doing now for the rest of the semester. The only time I plan on talking is if the person or persons who still haven't turned in their assignments, their second worksheet, if you turn them in today, then I'll grade them, and then tomorrow I will spend a half an hour or so and I'll give you my answers to all of these. All right? Questions? All right, the rest of the period's yours. Like I said, if everything is turned in for the worksheet, then tomorrow a half an hour to go over the worksheets, and then Friday lab, okay? Just so you know, for Friday, Has everybody here heard of the concept of STEM? It's science, technology, engineering, and math. It's real big. They're starting to do STEM in kindergarten. They are starting to actually have kids program in kindergarten. And I don't mean where you're writing, websites, but they're actually having them do fairly simplistic things, games and whatever. All right. The reason I'm telling you that is Friday. I don't know if it's open to students or not, but Friday in the other building from 7:30 till 9:30, there is a conference on STEM where all of the local grade school and junior high school, and I think some high school teachers are going to be over there. Yeah, I've been asked to come over there and sit in on it. So if anyone has any questions on what we're offering in the program here, the reason I'm telling you that is that means from 7:30 till 9:30, I won't be in here. And then after that, they're going to encourage people, if they want to come in and tour our labs and talk to the students. I don't know if any of them are going to do that or not. All I'm telling you is I won't be physically here from 7:30 till 9:30. I'll have the machine here, and I'll be here, but I'll be in the other building. Does that make sense? All right. The rest of the period then is yours. Look at that. I said it would take 5 minutes, and it took 21.